this shit going. Welcome back, Game Mark. Anyway, how's everybody? It's Orange Hat and Kate, and
the audio's a little.
We're waiting on Ambassador. Yeah, the audio. Or sorry about that. Now that I'm live, I got multiple tabs open, so we got to deal with that. But we will be. Or am I stable now, or is it still wonky?
Right now, you're good. Yeah.
All right. Now let's see how well it works when we add Ambassador to the mix.
Hi.
Have you finished your homework?
Well, of course.
Okay. Just grade school or grade A for Ambassador. So.
Who do you think you're talking to? Some slacker that stops after 4 episodes?
We have a host of topics to get into, folks. We're going to take care of Terminator Salvation, the final 4 episodes. We covered the first 4 last week, and Ambassador hadn't seen them yet, but he has now, and he's also seen the last ones. And then we're going to talk Rings of Power, and we're going to do a closer hate campaign or from the Acolyte zealotry that has literally attacked YouTubers to the point where they're trying to get YouTubers demonetized, fully canceled by defaming them to absurd degrees.
It's hysterical.
And it exploded out of control, like, quickly. But then kind of resolved quickly. I don't know. We'll get into it.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into it. And before we get started, say hello to the chat. And Ambassador, is there anything you want to plug before we get going?
Just real quick, coming up this week, I've got 3 streams planned. Tomorrow night, going to be doing my live rewind of Beetlejuice. And then with my birthday coming up next weekend, going to be doing a pair of watch-alongs. Tuesday night, we'll be doing a 80s night watch party for Tron. And then Thursday night, we'll be doing a 70s watch party for the Black Hole. So start times are 8:30 for Tron Central Time and 7:30 Central Time for the Black Hole. Come one, come all. Let's geek out, watch some good sci-fi.
All right. So starting
and let's talk about Beetlejuice.
Well, yeah. Starting off our stream or our topics is Terminator Zero episodes 5 through 8. So last week we established Judgment Day happened, and they show the nukes starting to fall. Places got nuked, and Japan didn't. Japan, Hiroshima, and whatnot, because Koro managed to, by launching a nuke of its own, to detonate all the other shit. And actually, I think it was just the thermite missile to destroy the nukes that were flying or dropping.
Yep.
And I really do like the CGI that they had for the warheads.
Oh, yeah.
That shit was pretty cool. So now, I like what she says, because she's like, but I do not know if it is my enemy. And also, I still 3 different pieces of one mind. And I like how by the end of the show, she actually unites into a full-fledged singular
AI
being. But going through
that was kick-ass.
Yeah. But going through it, we learned some major revelations, and I like how she actually or I like how she actually manages to get a little bit of more information about Malcolm. It's like, why are you hiding, Malcolm? I know that you're wearing a disguise, essentially. And he's like, well, okay. I expected you would eventually find this out. Malcolm's from the future. And he's not from 2025. He's from like 2040 something.
Yeah.
So during the time when Skynet is still active, and he wanted a different approach. And this is fascinating, folks, because honestly, it is interesting in a way that it's thinking outside the box. When you're at a fighting ones or fighting, you're going to look for something else to fight. So Malcolm thinks of a way to create an AI of his own. And instead of programming it like Skynet with the ifs and thens, he just lets it be and lets it think for itself. Now, some people might try to say they're pushing gender ideology, and that is absolutely not true.
Bull crap.
Now,
I
some
don't
people
think
may
so.
actually say, well, it's
not in this one.
Yeah, because as the AI starts talking, it then switches over to a female, and it's like, I'm neither male or female. I have no gender, but I choose to have a female voice. I choose to identify with a female or with the female gender because it is compassionate and whatnot. It gives
and the reason. I would say the reason why it wasn't DEI is because usually DEI hates the genders. This AI liked at least the female gender and gave credence and says, well, the female gender is nurturing and gives life. I want to give life, so I'm going to choose a female. Like usually DEI is like being a man is bad and being a woman is bad. You have to be this like, you can't be feminine. You have to be Xena, the warrior princess, and you can't be a man. You have to be like super into your feelings or whatever. So I don't think that that this particular instance was DEI, because in reality, it's an AI. It's genderless. That's a fact.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. If you want to look for a parallel, you can look straight back to Star Trek Next Generation, where Data creates a android daughter, and he allows the android to pick its own sex and its own name and everything else. And it goes through the evolution of figuring out what it wants to be, even what species it wants to be, because it just doesn't have the option of being male or female. It can be a male or female of any species within the galaxy. The same is true here too of Kokoro, but also Kokoro's
Misaki.
Predecessor, Misaki, or as Malcolm calls her, Kokoro's mother.
His mother, or her mother.
Yeah, her mother. Yeah, exactly.
And that was also another great reveal too. It's like she chose the name Misaki, and I'm like, so that's why she looks like a Terminator. So we then see how life developed, how he and she became more interested in saving the past and saving time, by which they wouldn't go and try to prevent Judgment Day, or they were going to try to prevent Judgment Day, but they weren't going to try to erase events. They weren't going to try to fight the war. They were going to try to absolutely stop the war by offering a completely alternate solution, not warring AIs.
Really cool.
Yeah,
which was a really cool concept for him to be like, "Hey, we're not going to just send Terminators and heroes back in time over and over and over again, because it's just gonna respawn." Yeah. It was kind of meta in a way, because it was like, well, it'll just respawn heroes and respawn, and you'll just do that ad infinitum.
It's an endless cycle.
Yeah, and which is what we've seen in the Terminator franchise. And I said last video, after Terminator 2, I don't think Terminator should be the franchise. However, this show did a really good job of introducing new things, new concepts, and expanding on the already established lore without touching it. They didn't even have to touch it. John Connor wasn't in it. Sarah Connor. Right.
Sarah Connor.
Well,
No.
and yeah,
And
well,
that's
here's
what made
the
it good is it didn't touch it. Yeah.
Well, here's the other interesting thing too. I know a lot of people kind of aren't the biggest fan of Terminator 3 or even Terminator Salvation, but for me, those two movies introduced two interesting concepts. One being the fact that that Judgment Day cannot be completely canceled out, which is an idea that's carried out through this series or this limited series, whatever way you want to frame it. And what does it mean to be a machine? What does it mean to be a human? They also carry out from Terminator Salvation with the character of Marcus and also in the instance of Masaki, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, I think they did a little bit better in this series than they did with the movies, but at the same time, those movies were the jump off point for those ideas. So the movies themselves, do they have issues? Sure. But do I enjoy the movies all the same? Yeah. But that's as far as any further, as far as any other Terminator films go, Salvation's where I stopped. I wasn't interested any further beyond that. So, but aside from that topic,
I liked Genesis to a point. I didn't like I liked the 80s and the future war sequences. Everything else, it's like, nah, screw that.
I was like, you lost me, and I like Genesis.
I like different concepts of them. Yeah.
But
well, no, I like Genesis part way or with the future war and with the 80s sequence. Other than that, fuck the rest of the story. Good. You had a good start, bad finish.
But
back to Zero. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, what they did was Zero, and this is going all the way back because I didn't really give it to. I'll keep it brief because I didn't watch the series until a few days ago. This concept of letting Kokoro decide whether or not she wants to save humanity and be to fight against Skynet, and Malcolm allowing her to make that choice rather than forcing her hand, trying to reason with it in a way that makes sense for a human to reason with a very powerful AI. Kokoro is not just a machine in the show. It is a character of its own. And I will say, I'm not sure who did the voice work for Kokoro, but it was incredibly subtle, very intelligent. It challenges you intellectually as a character. It might be, I'm not sure, but regardless, the relationship, if you want to frame it that way, between Kokoro and Malcolm is actually, I think, one of the strongest points. And going to, I think it's episode 6 or 7, where we finally find out that Malcolm is in fact from the future, and that later on we find out that Aiko is actually Malcolm's mother. That right there really turns the whole show on its head, because you've got 3 individuals technically 4 individuals, but one's just a Terminator. And you have 3 individuals, Malcolm Lee, Aiko, and Miyazaki, who are all from the future. And they have actually built lives, or at least 2 of them have built lives in the past or the present of 1997. And you would never think that they were from the future, but the thing for me was, okay, this guy is actually very smart, but how in the world in 1997 did he have all this advanced tech at hand? And then the wheels started to turn, and then when they finally make the reveal that, oh, he's from the future, I'm like, okay, that makes sense then. But the relationship also with Miyazaki and the kids, particularly Reika and Hiro, she is a very motherly figure ever since the kids lost their mother. And Malcolm still mourning and grieving, and the kids still mourning and grieving 3 years on. That actually makes a lot of sense, because mourning is not does not have a closed date. It can get easier, sure, but mourning is something that we as human beings go through continually throughout our lives. So, but I don't want to pile on any further. Well, I don't want to say eternally, but it gets easier, but at the same time, you carry that burden, you carry that memory, and it can still at times, yes, it can be painful, but at the same time, there is a relief there. So, but anyway, you guys go ahead.
One of the things I also like about this was the fact that Kokoro was unconvinced. And whatever that was, he makes his final case. And how many in the panel has seen Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's movie?
Yeah.
So we all know is the his memories, his consciousness that talks with his son Kal-El, and he tells him about the House of El and what the symbol means, hope, and hope that humans can be a force for good, and the potential for them to be a force for good. That is basically Malcolm's case for humanity. Yes, we are flawed. Yes, we are destructive. However, to better ourselves through knowledge, through compassion, through somebody teaching us a better way. We have the potential to be a force for good if we ascend, or if we mentally ascend, essentially. And I do like that because he was thinking out of the box. And in that time of the future, the war has been going on for 45 years, and there's no end in sight. So it's like, how do you stop people from thinking there might, or how do you get people who are so ingrained against machines to take a step back and pause? The answer is you don't, because you can't. They have a 40+ year bias against machines now.
Yeah.
Also made a mistake, in my opinion. She went Skynet enslavement.
Yeah.
She started killing people. And it's like, you are saying now that you're going to protect these people. However, you just started off by killing a lot of them. I mean, you just sprayed one dude full in front of every other human that was alive.
Well, even the scene where, like, the Terminator's bringing the kid up to the building where Kokoro is with Malcolm, like, there's a wider shot where you see, like, dead bodies as they're walking up, and you're like, oh my god, like, Kokoro, like, messed people up. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, you know, one or two. Like, she came out like, it was like, there was a moment where I was watching it and I was like, oh no, it was a mistake for him to bring Kokoro online. You know,
it's like, what were you doing? And she makes a good case. She's like, I'm protecting you, but I am also establishing, or I'm also proving addressing Skynet's point. They will not, or they need humans to be humbled. And in order to be humbled, extreme measures need to be taken. Or I do not, or now if I was Kokoro, I would have said, I do not want to do this. However, they will automatically see me as a threat due to what I am, because of what I am. I am not human. I am an intelligence that is beyond them. And because of humans' hubris, where they need to pretend that where they need to be able to think with a surefire faith and certainty that they are gods, or essentially just a step below God, that is why they will never accept me. So I need to allow them to understand, I am here, I am not, or I will help you, but I will also defend myself.
Yeah.
I don't hurt people, but Rosario Dawson did a great job as Kokoro's voice, but
Yes,
it's like
did.
the comply or die. I'm really thinking it's like, did they have that in the original dub, comply or die? Because there is the Japanese dub, and we all know that Netflix has a bad habit of changing shit with their translations. Specifically, fucking Godzilla -1. A lot of Godzilla fans were not happy with how the English translation went at the end, but I like how she did what was logically needed. It's like,
Yes.
I'm going to call some of you because you are going to need to be humbled. However, if you allow me to protect you, I can protect you. You kill me, Skynet wins. You're dead. Kill me, you're dead. But if you try to fight me, you're dead. However, my purpose, I want to protect you. And all it will basically cost, or the only cost, essentially, her mind is, do not attack me. If you attack me. And then we get to the Terminator that wants to terminate Malcolm, but Malcolm makes his case to the Terminator. No matter, or even if you kill me, you will not stop Kokoro. It's too late. She's already online. She's already standing against Skynet. So then he looks back at the kid, Kenta.
Yeah.
And his entire priorities, his programming updates and changes right there on the fly. From potential hostile to direct priority protection. And I'm thinking to myself, shit, this is weird.
Yeah, right.
And I love it talks even with its face, because we never see it talk. I mean, in innovation, we see a T-800 mimicking or from a microphone and its spot head. But in this, I like how it opens its mouth, not like we do to talk as its endoskeleton is revealed, but it simply just opens its jaws in order to talk.
Yeah.
Or to continue verbalizing. And I thought that was actually pretty interesting because it can still verbalize. It can still talk. It can still get the point across that it needs to. Now the question is, was it lying? Because it can lie, but was it lying about Kenta's future, where he actually brokered a peace between the machine Skynet in 2020s or in the 2020s? Possibly it did, but he said he was sent back in time by Kenta. And we all saw that this thing was sent back in time from Aiko's timeline. And it's like, okay. I don't know what this thing is lying or not to try to get it to stop Kokoro, but I do like that it defends against Kokoro. Very good, but it was inevitable that Kokoro's robots would or the Enos would eventually break through. And I do, or we also wonder what will happen in the second season, because one of the Enos brings Kokoro the skull, the endoskeleton's skull.
Yep.
Now, what was your guys' opinion on Timothy Oliphant as the voice for the Terminator?
I watched the whole thing with subs, so I have no comment on any of the American English.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Fine.
What about you, Ambassador?
I'm the lazy American who watched it in the American dub.
Honestly, sorry. I
did too.
Yes,
it was automatically set for that for me. It was automatically set as American for me.
Timothy Oliphant, honestly, is a very gifted actor. I think them choosing him to be the voice of the Terminator was a good one. He brought a level of menace and a level of inhumanness.
Yeah.
Inhumanity. That's the word I'm looking for. Inhumanity to the character. That I think, concerning the design of this particular Terminator, actually was right in step. It was a good choice, because this isn't a big muscle bound individual.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
This is a normal looking. Yeah, this isn't a bodybuilder. This isn't a giant Austrian man. This is a very normal looking human individual, and the voice and the build of the Terminator matched perfectly, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And it also shows that it's not Model 101. It's a different model.
We even see that earlier on. You see all the different models of Terminators lined up in these stasis pods or whatever it is down this hallway that the Terminator that actually gets sent back in time walks.
And there's even females.
So,
there's a ton of them. Yeah, and different like shades and degree. Like they all look different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
And one of the things I like about the character of Misaki was interesting because when her life was directly threatened by a human, she went Terminator. Even though she was a peaceful AI. Now she gave birth, or her CPU was used to birth Kokoro. However, due to her being as advanced as she was, she had a remnant default. Essentially, it is my speculation, because how else could you run without being or without a CPU? That's the question I have. It's like, how is she running without a CPU? That is the one thing that keeps them functional. But I do like how she essentially does go Terminator. She freaking headbutts the back of one dude's head and his freaking brains are exposed.
Yeah.
I love the just like when she was going against the Terminator and they punch each other in the face and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I do like is that Kenta's character in the beginning of the show, his character was fucking just plain old abusive to machines. His character, or that Eno thing, he was just treating it like shit. And that cat learned from it. Yeah, the cat thing learned from it. And it wanted to stay away from him. It hated him. It hid from him. And it's like, dude, I really fucking hate this kid. But it turns out he's actually one of the more pivotal kids, or he has the pivotal role, because this kid who is judging coldly like a machine against the machines with a humongous bias, who's ready to to bust a cap in Misaki herself. Not that it would do any good, because her head would only be dented. It's like, what is this kid going to choose? Abort or
activate
or detonate?
Yeah, detonate.
Or activate or abort. And you see that he's edging towards detonate, but then he changes and switches over to and she makes a great summary. Your father died 39 seconds ago. But I find myself immediately in his shoes. I find myself wanting to protect humanity, because I believe that humanity can be what your father saw it could be. Like the best of you. I saw the best and worst of both of us. And yet I find myself compelled to protect you, to see that you become the best of you.
Yeah.
So I will continue to protect you all. But at the end of this, you also see that Aiko had a kid in the future, which became Malcolm.
Mm-hmm.
But that version of Aiko crushed, which eventually as did his mother, his version of her. She actually has a T-800 hand.
Cybernetic hand.
But it's like this one. Oh, it's a T-800.
Yeah, that's what I meant. A Terminator hand, essentially. But I meant cybernetic because they're cybernetic organisms.
Yes.
But you know what I mean.
But yeah, she's not a Terminator. But I do like, it's like, however, reality-based, she is not the kid's grandmother because she came from a future where she didn't have a kid. Now, I want to go to the Prophet for a second. You guys know the Prophet from the earlier episodes. Who do you think the Prophet is? Do you have any idea of who she might be?
Miyazaki.
You think she might be Misaki?
Either she's Miyazaki or she's Reika.
I think she is Aiko.
That's possible too, but
that Aiko went back in time, failed in her mission, and knew the events that would happen.
Yeah.
Hence,
oh my God. Whoa. Do you think the old lady is her too?
The Prophet is the old lady.
Right. That's what I like. Like she is
that
herself,
old lady is Aiko.
Herself.
Yeah,
you
because
think the
as she's going back,
old lady Aiko talked to herself, Aiko.
Yep. Yes, she was talking to
say, hey.
And she was talking to her because she tells her something very poignant.
Yeah.
When she's sending, or she says something to Aiko, very poignant to the story. There is no fate, and that's the whole fucking point.
Mm-hmm.
In which Malcolm says something my mom always told me, something you have always told me. There is no fate. That's the whole fucking point.
Huh. Yeah.
He quotes the Prophet.
And that's very
so that's why I think that the Prophet, the old lady, is Aiko.
That's possible.
And I'm thinking, or it's
because Aiko spends the rest of her life going forward taking care of her grandkids.
Hands. Yeah, you never see her hands either. You never see her. Or they're always gloved. Once.
Oh, okay. It's like
but she's only using one hand during that whole scene where she's explaining paradoxes and time travel to if it is her younger self or younger
it's gloved. You don't see anything. Yeah. Or you don't see anything beyond her face. She is fully clothed. Yeah. So, but I think
it's possible
that she might actually be, Aiko, just from a failed mission. So she decided to use her knowledge.
What they do is just leave it as a mini series. Leave it at season 1. Don't touch this. It's good.
I won't lie.
So do I.
They left it where they could. Now, but I get what you're saying too, Kate.
But there's potential for another story. There's
sure, but story. I don't know. Like I feel like I like quit while you're ahead is what I'm saying. Because I don't like anything past T2. Now Salvation tried to do something new, cool, whatever. There's bits that I liked from Dark Fate-ish. But overall, as far as the franchise is concerned after T2. And this was good. So, just leave it. Leave it alone. Let it be.
The way I see it, Terminator, or I've done my video. I mean, I actually want to do an updated video later on of how I would handle a continuation T2.
Mm-hmm.
It would be another duology, but it would be full circle story. It goes 1998. It takes place there. John Connor and Sarah Connor are found by another T-800 in 1999. And 2000 is when Judgment Day is. The whole Y2K thing, that's when Judgment Day strikes.
I actually like that idea.
Now, there would be a future war after Judgment Day in the first movie starts, because the first sequence or the first hour of that movie would be preparation of a T-800 like Uncle Bob. This was if I could have all the different all the different Terminators and stuff, or actors from the previous movies. If I could make this movie back in the earlier 90s and whatnot, I would have it like that. I would actually have the original actors and such, where a T-1000 was sent back, or a T-800 or a T-1000 was sent back, and to ensure the creation of Skynet, to ensure Skynet's creation and ascension. And but another T-800
machines.
Yeah, essentially. And also, but it wasn't sent to terminate John Connor. It wasn't sent back to terminate John Connor. It was only sent back to make sure that Skynet is activated. Where another 101 is back to find John Connor, Sarah Connor, and it takes 3 years to build a nuclear hardened shelter away from all the major hotspots. And so then they would skip, after Judgment Day happens, they would skip forward to war for the second hour, and they would be hitting near the end of the movie. Sarah Connor is mortally injured while they are liberating one of the camps. And one of the kids, or one of the people who was found, shortly after Sarah Connor dies. Or you could do it where she is actually saving Kyle Reese, and she tells John just before she dies, make sure he gets to where he needs to go. Because the Terminator explains to him, because that Terminator that also saved them is also helping them fight the war. He's also in the war helping them against any Terminators. He is literally John Connor's bodyguard in the future war. So they end it there, kind of like a cliffhanger, and the second war leads up to the war where they are looking for the time displacement equipment in 2029. And that is when, or that movie would end with Kyle Reese, Uncle Bob, the other Terminator going back. You would also see the original Terminator go back, and you would also see a T-1000 being injected into a flesh mold, essentially, of Robert Patrick, or just like this globulous sack of living tissue, because nothing dead can go back. And it would be injected into that sack, so to speak. And it would also be sent back. I mean, I prefer the living tissue mold of Robert Patrick, so that it would be sent back to 1995. Because a lot of people don't realize this. T2, as good as it is, has some very big errors. Because it's like in 3 years, it develops, or John Connor's 10 years old in the movie, yet Terminator's discussing Judgment Day 3 years off. So in 1998 instead of 1997. But yeah, getting back to the story, Kyle Reese is sent back, as is Uncle Bob, reprogrammed, and he's like, you know what? Grab this one, or let's grab a second one. We need to send it to 1998 as well. He's covering all of his bases, essentially, to ensure that he survives. So we see Kyle, or the movie then ends with Kyle going back. We don't need to see the other ones going back too. And that is basically, it is a full circle story.
Yeah. No, I get you. Let me ask you one question. Sorry.
Right.
Just one question.
Go ahead.
Because except for, I think, like Genesis or whatever, we've never seen the time displacement equipment before. What did y'all think of the design of the equipment that we saw in this series? Did it meet your expectations? Was it about what you thought it would be, or did you expect something a little bit more?
I thought it was okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Kate,
what about you?
I wasn't expecting more. Like, it was a good. I don't know. Overall, I would say,
I know it's
thumbs up.
The reason I ask is they always talk about time travel, but they never show the device and how it actually functions, what it actually does, how it sends a person into the past and whatnot. And I know we've seen other time machines in the past in other franchises, the Time Machine, the actual movie, Back to the Future, and so on. But they've always referenced it, but we never saw it except for, I think, like it said in Genesis or whatever, which one it is. So I was just curious.
I feel like I feel like it kind of limits them, because it's kind of like, once you explain the science behind it, if you don't have it exact, you can find yourself breaking canon.
Well, they basically they already explained the rules. It's essentially only things encased in living tissue can go back. The magnetics will shred anything else.
Yeah, but I was actually talking about not so much how it functioned, but what the design of it. Yeah, the design. Yeah. That was the only thing I was asking about. So.
Oh, you wanted like deep lore stuff. Yeah.
No, not
well,
so
what
much
did you what did you think of the design, Kate, of the time displacement equipment in the anime?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good. I mean, I thought the whole there's nothing that I would say in the show that I was like, oh, I would change that. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. That's all.
Not one thing stuck out. Not even the art. Like, I think we talked about this last
style.
time. Yeah, the 3D, 2D. I liked that.
Was great. Yeah.
There is a lot of callbacks to the original to the original Terminator mythology, because even right down to the goddamn arm that is ripped off of Misaki, that is a direct callback to the original Terminator.
Yep.
And that's how you do, I feel like that's how you do nostalgia without nostalgia baiting. That's how you do callbacks without, because okay, I only watched the first maybe 15, 20 minutes of Solo, but like, when you show me the dice on his like rear view mirror, I don't care about that lore. That's not the lore that we care about. That's not the callback stuff that we care about. Or
everybody says that was kept on the Millennium Falcon for years. It's like, where was it in the original trilogy? I don't recall dice like that.
I don't either, but you know what? Who cares?
Or like his last name, because he's like, I'm alone, and the guy's like, Solo, and it's like, that's not the lore we want. This show does a good job of doing like, that lore stuff of, hey, we know you watched these previous movies, without it being like baity,
Kind of like what they did. I know we're not going to.
It's like it's a nod.
Yeah. I know we're not discussing it, but just real quick, it's kind of like what they did with Beetlejuice. They did the same thing there.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
All right. So moving on, we have. Let me pull up the right one. We have.
Sorry.
Rings of Power. Not this one. This one, or not that ticker, but this ticker.
Listen,
Rings
before
of
we
Power,
get into
season 2.
Before we get into it, can I say one thing? Just one thing.
Yeah,
Don't piss off this fan base.
No. And
guess what? We're pissed.
Oh yeah, they pissed off a million.
We just don't.
Strong.
We just didn't watch your show. Be mad about it.
Well,
we didn't watch your show.
The first bit that we're getting into. Let me get it going, folks.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're ready. We're chomping at the bit.
I know.
Yeah,
you guys are chomping at the bit. So the second bit here is they want us to sympathize with evil, folks. Yeah, so let me pull up this thing from Bounding into Comics. We're gonna read this article here. Kate, you know the drill. Let me know if audio or anything starts tripping out.
I'll let you know.
And so Rings of Power showrunners defend decision to humanize orcs. We feel like this goes straight back to Tolkien.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So no, it's all right. I basically paused just so you could get your reaction out.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Thank
you. Without telling me you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. In an opinion of Lord of the Rings showrunners, their season 2 decision to humanize the Dark Lord or the Dark Lord's orc army is far from controversial, because not only does the change provide better opportunities of storytelling, you dumb idiots, it also falls directly in line with Tolkien's writings. If you're referring to that letter he had in which he says they are not beyond redemption, that doesn't mean that they are evil or that they are not evil. You fucking idiots.
Well, there's a difference between, because Tolkien fans have had this conversation for decades. There's a difference between having a conversation and saying, hey, do we think that orcs are redeemable? Let's discuss, given the lore and what we know about Tolkien and the world that he's given us. And then putting in a scene where an orc says, do I have to go to war? All I want to do is stay home with my family. And it's like, no, that's not orcs. No.
So, as seen in the series' third and current latest episode of The Eagle and the Scepter, rather than being portrayed as a cruel species depicted by J.R.R. Tolkien himself, the orcs hated everybody and everything, and particularly the orderly and prosperous wrote the author of The Hobbits, and the orcs in Rings of Power are instead shown as brutal but oppressed foot soldiers. Their lives concerned not just with war and pillaging, but also achieving a future where their families can exist, and more than tools for Lord Sauron to use in the service of his ambitions. The preparations are nearly complete. Lord Father, yada yada yada. I'm
Was
not going to be
this them
quoting
trying
their
to fix their arrows? Because they know that season 1 was so bad, people hated it, right?
Yeah.
Like only 40% of people who watched episode 1 completed and finished the whole series. And I know we're going to talk about ratings next, but
yeah. But here's the thing, folks. Tolkien reads like the Bible in the Silmarillion. And Melkor was the devil, essentially, in the Silmarillion.
Yeah. Yep.
And just let me finish. Sauron is essentially son of Satan. And Melkor and Sauron are what's known as admitted evil, definitive evil. They are not good. Their sole purpose after Melkor fell from Ilúvatar's grace was that Melkor, known as Morgoth, wanted to basically take all that his father created and twist it and turn it away from what his father had created.
Yep.
That is definitive and admitted evil. This person is saying, fuck what he created. I want to take it and I want to destroy it. I want to pervert it. I want to make it my own, and I want to shove it back in his face. That is definitive evil. And
all of the evil things and twisted things that have been introduced into Middle-earth are because Melkor wanted to change the song that Ilúvatar had begun, and the Valar were singing the world into being, and he introduced his own music and his own tune, and all of those things that were created through that music were all of the evil things that were introduced into Middle-earth. Dragons, everything that's evil is because of the songs that were introduced by Melkor in the beginning. So not as only is he evil, he's the root of all of the evil things that were planted in Middle-earth.
Yep. Pretty much.
Like he is the source
And not
of
only
evil.
that, folks,
It's
to
not
give you an
like,
idea.
Oh, is he redeemable?
Yeah. Now, I will let Ambassador go in a second. Believe me, I know you are chomping at the bit, Bob. But let me just point out something quickly. Owlay, one of his other children, Owlay, one of his other children, is sorry, I got a call.
I was like, what?
He tried creating the dwarves. He is the creator of the dwarves. He wanted to please his father. And his father therefore said, it was not my intention to have these creatures. However, I understand the reason why you did it, and therefore I will spare them. But they will not have peace with my creations. I created the elves. My elves and your dwarves will never fully be peaceful with each other. Essentially, Iluvatar cursed the dwarves to never be able to find peace with elves.
And they had to, because Iluvatar said it's not the time for them yet, like it's a bad time for them to be introduced. They had to be basically like, you know that joke in Two Towers where he's like, oh yeah, they just pop out of the ground. And it's like, that was a reference to having to put the dwarves literally under the ground until, they were ready to enter into Ada.
Yeah.
Or Arda, sorry.
Arda. And let's see here. So with that, he spared Owlay's creation because Owlay had noble intentions of creation, where Melkor didn't. So when you tell people that they are to sympathize with evil, that is something that is, or most people, especially a billion strong Tolkien fans, are going to automatically reject.
Well, also,
you are
going
telling
back
us
to,
we need to sympathize with the devil.
Right.
Fuck
and
you.
Fuck that. And fuck anybody who wants to do this like moral ambiguity stuff, because that's not Tolkien. But I think the root of the problem was that whole like, we want to do Game of Thrones, and that's all they wanted to do. They wanted a TV show that was as big as Game of Thrones. And Game of Thrones, George Martin is known for having, your heroes do evil things and evil people do kind things, and there is kind of that like, people moral are both ambiguity. Cruel. Yeah, there is that moral ambiguity, and like it works in the world that he created. But do not introduce that to Middle Earth. That is not Middle Earth. That is not Tolkien. That is not the legacy and the world that he created. And you just, it's not Lord of the Rings. What you've created is not Lord of the Rings, and it's a giant middle finger to the fan base. And your ratings and all of the like hatred and vitriol that you've gotten online is well deserved, because we told you not to do this. As soon as they came out and said, we're going to do Second Age of Middle Earth, and we're going to do The Forging of the Rings, we're going to do The Last Alliance of Middle Earth, and we're going to do this other thing, and all of these things are thousands of years apart. We told you not to do it, and you did it, and now your show's shit.
Yep. Okay. So, Ambassador, I know you've been chomping at the bit, so I'm going to take the bit out of your mouth and take you off the leash. Go.
Well, let's get this straight. Beings that were subverted and tortured and mutilated by the big bad himself, Morgoth, aka Melkor, are supposed to now be sympathetic. This isn't Star Wars. This isn't Anakin Skywalker, who had a tragic and disastrous fall because he cared too much for the people around him, particularly his mother and his wife. Noble things. Balrogs are not to be sympathized with. They are engines of destruction that were twisted and mutilated and fell from grace. They are essentially fallen angels. They are demons. They are ancient evil that lives in the bowels of the earth because they were put there because they got their asses kicked after their big daddy got his ass kicked.
Yep.
Middle Earth is not Westeros. Middle Earth is not a galaxy far, far away. Middle Earth is not a place where you play with ideas of morality. Now you can play with ideas of good versus evil, of good people interacting with evil things and them being twisted and tortured by them. Sure.
We've seen
Frodo, like Frodo carrying the
Yeah.
ring from his home all the way to the brink of doom. Literally.
Or even Smeagol Gollum.
Crack of doom, yeah.
Yeah, the crack of doom. Literally. But this whole idea that orcs have families is poorly written, poorly crafted, subpar, bottom basement fan fiction. These idiots, to quote Family Guy, you do not know Tolkien, you know nothing of his work. You know, when Jesus pops up and says, you don't know me, and you know nothing of my work. These idiots know nothing of Tolkien, they know nothing of his work. This show is probably going to be as reviled in its time and probably afterwards as much as probably another topic we'll be talking about shortly. The freaking Acolyte. Again, another show where it tries to make evil sympathetic. Evil is not sympathetic. When you read the Bible, you're not supposed to sympathize with the demons that are inhabiting people. When you read the Bible, you're not supposed to sympathize with Satan. He is the bad guy. He is the rebel. He rebelled against the Almighty, and he got his ass justly
and he hates
for
you.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he hates you.
He hates your ever-loving guts.
Yep.
Orcs
What
are
happened
not
to people? What happened to people responding the way that King Theoden did in the Two Towers, where he's like, "What can men do against such reckless hate?" That's what Uruk-hai and orcs are. They're bred. They're
That's
tortured.
what they are representative
you
of. Yep.
Throw a sword in their hand and you say, "Go kill those people," and they go, "Okay." There's no. Oh,
there is no gray area here with the orcs. There's no gray area with this dude, Adar, or whatever the hell his name is, who's supposedly Adar, whatever, or Duh is more accurate, because that's probably what the person. I swear, I think the writing team for Rings of Power must have been sniffing industrial strength super glue or eating industrial strength cement, rubber cement when they were writing this thing. How brain damaged do you have to be to write something this lore breaking and this moronic? A kindergartner at this stage of our evolution could do a better job writing a short story about some hobbits having a dinner party than the Rings of Power could be. I would rather read a short story written by a middle schooler about how some hobbits had a kick-ass party than watch this. At least that would be within the lore and the universe, because what do hobbits do? They eat, they garden, they party. That's it. And they sometimes, the braver ones, go off and kick people's asses.
Yep.
But this show represents nothing at Tolkien. I said this a couple of years ago, and I will say it today. If Professor Tolkien was alive and he was still well enough to do so, he would march into that writing room and he would smack every single one of them over the head with either his cane, his pipe, or a shovel.
Yep. And hello to Chris Daly on X. 1000% agree. Unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. Yes, it is. And that's why I refuse to watch an entire episode of the show.
Are they planning on continuing this? Because they lost.
They have
a lot
several
of money
seasons
in season 1.
contractually set.
Okay.
They are pushing for 5 seasons.
They're contractually obligated to lose money for the next couple of years. All right.
Yep. But they're going to have a hard
the funniest part has been the cope, because they released the first 2 episodes as like a combined, right? Is that correct? I haven't watched it, so I don't. There's 3 episodes out now, right? or
3 or 4,
Yes.
I think. Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay, so the articles that I've been seeing from the propaganda machine are like, oh my god, Rings of Power Season 2 are so much better than House of the Dragon. And it's like,
Your mother.
okay. So this is riding off the tail of people being mad and having a knee-jerk reaction to the anticlimactic House of the Dragon season finale, but by no means is House of the Dragon as fucking terrible as this show, or lore-breaking, or anything.
House of the
Holy
Dragon's
crap.
better
But
than 1,000. Go ahead, Kate.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, House of the Dragon season 2 was not the best season. And yeah, we've talked about it. It was a little bit disappointing, the ending. But wow, it's super enjoyable to watch, and I'm actually watching that show. You know what show I'm not freaking watching? Your dumbass Rings of Power BS nonsense. Because from what I've seen and read of like the clips on Twitter, like Sauron had control over the elven rings being made, and it's like, no, those rings didn't even have any influence. Like, he didn't have influence over those rings. Like, every single point they can break lore, they break lore, because they don't have. And this was like, they told us, well, we don't have the rights to these books, we don't have the right to the Silmarillion, but we want to do all the stories in the Silmarillion. Screw you, go screw yourselves. And that's, I think that's your next topic, Orange, is the ratings. Which is a nice segue.
Which is
nobody's freaking watching this.
Yeah, which is what I want to segue into right now, because apparently they lost half their fucking viewers, or over half of their viewers.
Good.
So I'm going to pull this up from Valiant Renegade, because he actually pulls this stuff up. U.S. households watched the premiere of Rings of Power during the first 4 days available on Prime Video. Samba TV covered this. 1.8 million views for the first season, for the first 4 days. U.S. households watched the first episode of Rings of Power Season 2 on Amazon Video over its first 5 days. 902,000.
Just in comparison, I did a quick Google search. House of the Dragon Season 2 numbers, 7.8 million viewers.
Yeah,
but your show's better, right?
Yeah. So let me ask you, Amazon, do you really want to keep hemorrhaging money? Because you are going to say, well, all the haters are nothing but bigots and they didn't even give it a chance. We're not going to give it a chance because you admitted full on, folks. They admitted full out. Let me show you the number, or I forgot to put the fucking screen up. But yeah, those from
Yikes.
Renegade, they lost over half their fucking viewers. And here's the thing, they didn't even give it a chance.
Even get 1 million.
You admitted that you didn't have the proper rights to tell the story as it should be told. You then said you were going to tell the story that Tolkien never could. That is essentially claiming you're going to be better than Tolkien. That will never happen. You then basically attacked fans, saying that they're nothing but racist bigots for pointing out an actual truth, that there is no such thing as black or darker skinned elves. I'm sorry, that's just not it, or that's just not true. It's or nobody's saying that people can't identify with elves. Of course you can identify with an elf if you want to identify with an elf. If you're black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. You could be you could be the one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater and still identify with the elves if you wanted. Nobody is saying you can't identify with the elves. However, in Tolkien's stories, there was never dark-skinned elves. There's nothing racist about that.
Right.
It's a simple
fact.
Fact.
Because the race is...
Go ahead, Kate.
Go ahead, Ambassador. No. Go ahead, Ambassador.
The simple fact is, Tolkien wrote this for a particular audience. Now, obviously, as time has gone on, that audience has expanded and grown and gone across demographic boundaries. And that's a great and wonderful thing. It really, truly is, because that keeps a franchise and a fandom thriving, bringing in new eyes and new ears and new minds who want to relish in something beautiful and crafted well and by a person who loved this stuff. He wanted to write folklore for the British audience that he was a part of. And over the last several decades, and now a century plus now, the audience has grown by leaps and bounds. And you've got people of all races, all creeds, all this stuff that have discovered his work, discovered the movies. Even the old animated movies that maybe weren't the best thing ever, but they were still had their strong points. Sorry. But you don't need to placate to every race by casting the wrong damn ethnicity for a particular race in a fictional universe. Middle Earth does not actually exist. It never did. It is a fictitious universe, and you don't need dark-skinned elves or dark-skinned dwarves or dark-skinned anything. Now, yes, in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, we saw that the Haradrim and the Easterlings were of a distant ethnicity. This is a freaking given. We accept this as a fact. But the elves and the dwarves and the men of the West weren't. And no, this was not Tolkien trying to make some commentary about how dark-skinned people or people from a different ethnicity were bad. It was just a simple fact of the universe he built.
He never had anything like race or like demographical skin color race in mind when he did these stories. All he wanted to do was write a mythology in which he himself would read. That was his entire reason for creating the Legendarium.
Right. He wanted a mythos for England because of all of the invasions, they had lost all of their, oral history. So he wanted an oral history. And even like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, the narrator is the small folk, the hobbits. So it's literally, it's not Gandalf wrote it down or somebody from Gondor who was a historian wrote it down. It wasn't anything like that. It was these small people who, didn't have a huge impact on the world other than these moments where they're picked up by a wizard and thrown into like, a story that impacts the rest of Middle Earth. But that was the intention. These stories are impactful because he started writing them in 1917 when he had trench fever during World War I, and we are still reading them. We're still discussing them. We're still enjoying them. The fandom is still growing. According to the ratings for this Rings of Power show, which is not Lord of the Rings or Tolkien at all, people are already done with it after like the first season. It lost 50% of its viewers. So if you don't adhere to the source material and understand the meaning and the reason behind it and try to make it your own and fit your own story into it, there's a reason why it's not connecting with audiences. And it's not just not connecting with Tolkien fans. It's not connecting with the people who watched the show because you have fewer viewers.
And that's folks,
diminishing returns.
Yeah, they're gonna continue to have diminishing returns, and they're gonna continue to play the whole, oh, you guys are racist, you're sexist, you're bigoted. No, we simply are very passionate about something that has been given to us by the greatest author of the 20th century. The man literally he is a linguist that created an entire mythology based around languages. He's a linguist. He went to school for languages, folks. And so he then just decided, you know what? I like this different language and stuff, so I'm going to, screw it, write a bunch of stories. And he did. And The Hobbit.
And they were great.
Yeah. The Hobbit was more for kids. And get this, folks. The Hobbit, when published, rivaled the Bible. Didn't beat the Bible in publications, but at the time, it rivaled the Bible. It was second only to the Bible in publications. The Hobbit took the world by storm. And then he wanted to continue his story. And then he wrote a more adult-themed mythology of Lord of the Rings. And then he did Silmarillion and all the other histories. This man and his family...
I would have loved to see what he would have published in his life if the publishing companies hadn't put him and been like, yo, calm down. Because he wanted to create, like, it wasn't just the Lord of the Rings. He thought it was all connected, you know, like the War of the Gems, of the Silmarils, and then, like, the war in the Third Age of the Lord of the Rings. Thought it was all interconnected and it was all one big story. So I would have loved to see how the Silmarillion would have turned out if he were able to publish it.
Well, here's the thing. He also sold the movie rights for $1. For a single US dollar, because he knew that they could never properly adapt it. He already ripped one guy's adaptation a new asshole when somebody tried doing a treatment of it in the 50s and was only focusing on the battles. It's like you basically murdered my story. No, that's not what my stories are about. The fights and the battles were not the crux of the story. Oh my God. And so a lot of people actually cite that too, because it's like, if you are going to do my story, you're going to tell it the right way, or you shouldn't tell it at all. If Tolkien himself was alive today, he would look at his estate and he would say, what possessed you to think this was a good idea? This is not what I wanted. Or this is a perversion of my work. You are telling them to, because folks, Jean Ronald Reuel Tolkien was a diehard, devout Catholic. To have his work perverted in such a way to where you are to see orcs in a different light and sympathize with them,
he would have,
is a complete and utter perversion of what he did. Now, I'm not as religious as Tolkien, but I understand the devoutness of people who are religious. And I guarantee you, if he was alive or his son were alive, Christopher Tolkien, the last bastion of defense for his father's work, because the grandkids don't give a fuck about his work. Pardon the language. But his grandkids and great-grandkids, they don't respect his work. Not as they should. But the fact of the matter is, if him or his son were still alive today, they would tell the estate, cancel this show.
Yeah.
Absolutely pull it. What they just did with my work is absolutely, unequivocally unacceptable. You do not sympathize with these characters. They are not to be, or they are not to be identified with. They are not to be seen as any sort of positive. They are evil. And the fact that Amazon thinks that this is some sort of acceptable thing. Frankly, I'm not saying I'm offended for Tolkien, because I would never do that. But I am offended that they think that this is in line with Tolkien's work. The man was a devout Catholic.
Well, maybe we're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they just don't. They know that it's not in line with Tolkien's work. They're just freaking lying and saying, "Oh, this is straight out of Tolkien," because it's not, and they know it's not. And it's like all the Star Wars people who never seen Star Wars, who didn't care about Star Wars, who then are writing Star Wars projects. It's in the same vein. You get all these people, oh, this is directly from Tolkien. Bullshit. No, it's not, and you know it's not. You know it's not.
Yeah.
This is as far divorced from Tolkien as anything current Lucasfilm is divorced from George Lucas.
And Chris, that's a good. Yeah, they don't care about losing viewers. They're blaming them for.
No, they would rather slight us. They would rather defame us. They would rather call us every dirty, low down, rotten name in the book that you can think of to try and discredit our opinion. But guess what? We have a louder voice than you do. Yep. We have a bigger platform than you do. You try and take one of us down, two more of us is gonna come up right after him. You take down.
And also, people are still not watching your show. People are still not watching your show.
Maybe not.
So let's say
maybe a good version of Hydra or maybe Shield. Because here's the thing: for every one fan that they try to silence, 5 more step up,
more speak out.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Yeah.
And
the more you try to push us down, the harder we're going to fight back because we got a backbone stronger than your corporate structure.
Yep. Which is a perfect way to segue into our final topic for tonight, folks. The Acolyte. Yeah, we're not done talking about it because these fuckers just won't leave it alone. These fuckers just won't let this damn show die.
This is like the gift that keeps on giving.
Let it die, and they won't. Yeah.
I mean,
please continue because it makes us laugh. Go ahead.
Take Kylo Ren's advice and let the past die and kill it if you have to. But the fact of the matter is, folks, they went to a whole new level. The Zealots for the Acolyte. These people are zealots. Absolute zealots who are absolutely unable to accept reality that this show was not canceled by us. It was canceled by Disney. So they decided
it was a limited series.
Yeah. So they decided to start a cancel campaign where they were going to attack the biggest channels that were countering the Acolyte. People like Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Star Wars Theory, and Ryan Kinnell. Now, these are channels, aside from Star Wars Theory, I watch his channel, but Nerdrotic and them, I haven't really watched their channels because I rather lost interest in their channels a while back. Now, that does not mean that I don't respect what they're trying to do. And I am absolutely going to stand up for anybody who is trying to have their voice taken away simply because a bunch of whiners could not accept reality. So we got this campaign that was started or not. I don't know if it was started by Star Wars Explain and his wife, but they essentially endorsed this campaign. And I will read. I am going to read all this stuff in depth for you folks.
Ambassador's face.
Yeah, and so they went and they talked to Team YouTube, and they made demands and whatnot. So let's get into this without further ado. So, dear Team YouTube, last week Amanda Stenberg posted candid comments to Instagram about the rampage of bigotry and vitriol that she has received since leading the cast of The Acolyte. Oh, by the way, did I bring this up yet or share the screen? Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry. Jeez, I forgot to do it again. Let me add this. Yep. So, yeah. So, the latest edition of the Star Wars universe. Stenberg's experience is not new. In fact, it is a known tactic, was initially provoked by former Breitbart news editor Milo Yiannopoulos, who aggressively targeted Ghostbusters actor Leslie Jones under the guise of film criticism. After prolonged insults against Ghostbusters' character resulted in harassment against Jones on Twitter, no proof of this has ever been shown.
They're still talking about this. This was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, I know. Let me finish. Yiannopoulos claimed Jones was playing the victim when she called for action against the harassment. The aggressive gaslighting of Jones' experience resulted in Yiannopoulos being banned from Twitter. 8 years later, Yiannopoulos' playbook against marginalized actors has burgeoned into a multi-million-dollar business on YouTube, which has been permitted to develop unchecked with YouTube's partner program. This playbook's biggest target, Star Wars. As fans of the Star Wars franchise, we have tirelessly witnessed a handful of YouTube creators continuously drive prolonged insults and harassment against marginalized actors and members of our community. Enough is enough. The Star Wars fandom demands that YouTube enforce its community guidelines against prolonged insults and incitement of targeted harassment towards women of color by demonetizing YouTube channels Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnell RK Outpost, and Nerdrotic. Now, okay, we're going to take a little bit of a break here, folks, because we're going to discuss a little bit of this. First off, who the fuck do you think you are saying that you are the Star Wars fandom and that you speak for everybody in the Star Wars fandom? Last I checked, you did a failed petition that numbered your followers and your numbers. You numbered 80,000 at least, I believe. Star Wars fans number 1 billion plus. So, tell me again how you speak for over 1 billion people who rejected the shit show, The Acolyte. The facts that they are presenting, by the way, I will destroy these if or with what is known and easily verified if you look it up. In 2018, Geeks and Gamers, 396,000 subscribers, encouraged harassment against Vietnamese American actor Kelly Marie Tran. No, they did not.
Bullshit.
They never said in any one of their single videos, because back then I was following Geeks and Gamers, they never said in any of their videos to go after these actresses or actors of Star Wars. They had never said people need to go and tell them that she looked ugly. She was a fat little thumper dumper bullshit bitch from episode Last Jedi or whatever. No, all they simply said was she is a beautiful woman that Rian Johnson made look rather unattractive, and the writing was atrocious. That is what was said. Now, do I deny that there were people who attacked Kelly Marie Tran on Instagram? No, I do not. Those people, we do condemn them. We do condemn them wholeheartedly, because I am not a fool that will state that there is no such thing as racism and bigotry in fandoms and whatnot. Of course, you are going to have that small number of people who are like that, but that is not what Geeks and Gamers was doing. So they published nearly leading up to Tran's departure from Instagram due to prolonged harassment. Geeks and Gamers published nearly 15 videos relevant to Tran's Star Wars Episode 8 character Rose Tico. Trans? What? Anyway,
no,
the channel claimed
Kelly Marie Tran. Trans.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, got it. They claimed that the forced diversity, many of the comments found, or that most unlikable character ever, or one of the most hideous characters of all time. Okay, tell me where they are saying go harass Kelly Marie Tran. The most unlikable character ever. Tell me where they're going to, or tell me where they're saying harass Kelly Marie Tran. And exists for forced diversity. Again, tell me where they are going to, or where they are telling people to harass her. Many of the comments found in Geeks and Gamers videos can be hateful comments under Tran's now deleted Instagram posts. Here's the thing. People who own YouTube channels, who run these YouTube channels, they do not have control over their fans. They don't control them. They don't tell them what to put in the comment section. They don't do any of that shit. I have always said on my channel, if you are going to be in the comment section, If you have opposing views, make them known. But you will be civil or you will be kicked off of my channel.
Don't be rude.
Yeah. So Geeks and Gamers championed RK Outpost. I believe he was a member of Geeks and Gamers for a time. A channel that frequently targets marginalized actors, including Moses Ingram, a black American cast member in TV series Kenobi. Yeah, who thought she was the only black person in Star Wars at the time. But yeah, that's another story altogether. Days before Ingram called out racist backlash against her on Instagram, which we never saw any proof of at all. We only saw that Disney was reacting to this boogeyman that never showed. Days before, RK Outpost called Ingram a lunatic who can do nothing other than play the victim. RK Outpost has recently referred to Ingram's Kenobi character Reva as dumb and retarded. He's allowed to voice his opinion. I may not agree with the word usage, but he is allowed to voice his opinion. But he may have also been using retarded as in held back and hindered. The actual definition.
Yeah.
Geeks and Gamers and RK Outpost frequently co-host the live stream Friday Night Tights on Nerdrotic's YouTube channel, 1.1 million subscribers, where the three channels have made profitable business reusing prolonged insults against marginalized actors featured in Star Wars, Captain Marvel, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, to name a few. More facts, according to them. None of this is shit is facts, by the way, except for the names and the amount of subscribers that they have. And perhaps some of the quoted stuff taken out of context. Amandla is the current target of the YouTube-based operation. Together, Geeks and Gamers, RK Outpost, and Nerdrotic have led against Amandla even before the release of The Acolyte, producing nearly 40 videos relevant to Amandla and The Acolyte since May. These channels have asserted that Amandla is vapid and narcissistic. Have you listened to her? The adult pretender.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
Yeah, I know. The adult pretender. Dumb. Again, where's the lie?
You're an actor,
bitch.
so you are an adult and you pretend for a living. Where's the lie?
Yeah. A half black bitch, but she is half black. Where's the lie? Bitch. Well, she fucking did a diss track, folks, calling a bunch of people racist. So that's kind
some
of
of these might be rude. Okay, some of these might be rude, but they're not inaccurate. And you're not allowed to be rude on the internet. That's not illegal.
Yep. No, it isn't. First Amendment. The channels have gaslit Amandla by claiming she's playing the victim card. Where is the lie here?
She's
with
an actress
Outpost,
worth at least $1 million or 1 point some odd $1 million. So tell me again, how exactly is she the victim?
Well, get this.
She was
RK Outpost proclaimed, "You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life, you bitch. These YouTubers also use racist dog whistles, including the angry black woman stereotype. The hate campaign against Amandla has been so profitable that other YouTubers have joined the attacks on Amandla, including Star Wars Theory, 3.3 million subscribers." He just recently did his response video to these things that we're showing here, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Or how many more good faith creators will turn profitable hate campaigns if this behavior is permitted to go with no repercussions? By the way, this Molly Damon woman is the wife of Star Wars Explained. And here's one of the responses to this tweet that she put out. "Well said, Molly. I've started reporting a few channels myself that have engaged in this targeted harassment. Hopefully, YouTube will improve in banning, demonetizing these people, with more people addressing them, bringing this to light." So, continuing on. Jesus Christ, my phone is just very popular today. And it's by a person who knows I'm fucking live, so it's a really dick move. Anyway. The Star Wars fandom refuses to watch another marginalized actor or fan be singled out by prolonged racist harassment from a handful of YouTubers as a result of YouTube's inaction, which has transformed hate into a lucrative career path. It is concerning to us that targeting marginalized actors and other social media platforms has historically resulted in platform bans, whereas the same behavior has made provocateurs millionaires on YouTube. This should be highly concerning to advertisers as well. We understand that YouTube has an important role to play in promoting free speech. However, content uploaded by Geeks and Gamers, RK Outpost, Nerdrotic is not opinion or criticism. It is prolonged targeted harassment against women of color. We urge you to enforce its community standard guidelines and demonetize these channels immediately and permanently. Thank you. May the force be with you. Resources. Are you ready for this, folks? They give a bunch of freaking resources here. And
I'm still not over the whole Milo Yiannopoulos thing, because A, that was so long ago. B, even like the conservatives have said, nah, that guy's whack, and have moved on from him. So for them to go back and be like, oh yeah, this stemmed back from Milo, and now people have made a whole career on YouTube off of doing the same exact thing. No. People have found out that when you go on Rotten Tomatoes, or when you go to the quote-unquote trusted critics, they are paid by, people to tell you it's good. So you can't even trust critics anymore. So yeah, it makes sense that people are going to people like Geeks and Gamers or your channel or Ambassador your channel, like just to get independent people who, hey, I trust this fellow nerd's opinion about things. They're going to watch it and tell me if it's worth watching or not. That it totally makes sense. It's kind of like the rise of independent journalism. Now we have the rise of independent reviewers and people who go, hey, here's my range of things that I like. Here's what I like to watch. Here's, my recommendations, and people can listen or not listen. And obviously if Geeks and Gamers, if just Nerdrotic himself has over 1 million followers, he has an audience who gives a crap about what he says. So for these people to come and just attack him for no reason is just hilarious.
Yeah. Look. Now, hold on 1 second. I want to get to the full crux here before we give any further thoughts. Molly Damon had a reply from Team YouTube. Mind reporting the channel and videos of their official reporting tool if you haven't yet. The page has more info on how to do that. And she says, will do. And then Team YouTube responded. Oh, shit, they don't put it in. Well, they did put it in. But anyway, Team YouTube essentially said, we have looked over extensively all of the views or all of the videos and found they didn't violate the standards. Interesting. So basically, YouTube told these people to kick rocks. Now, by the way, folks, these people are the same ones who have been saying that people like me, Ambassador, Kate, are toxic fans because we are calling out objective criticisms as well as subjective criticisms. And yes, some of us might use hyperbolic stuff. Some of us don't. But the fact of the matter is, we are still entitled to our opinion. None of what we have said is racist or bigoted.
And your shit still sucks, and people still are watching it. So go harder.
Hold on. Now, again, I do not deny that there are people out there who are hateful and bigoted. But they are not us. They are not Nerdrotic. They are not Geeks and Gamers. They are not RK Outpost. Now, yes, Geeks and Gamers have said things that some of their writers, one in particular, used a racial slur in one of their writing about Native Americans during the Prey movie coming out and stuff. And that's when I basically washed my hands of Geeks and Gamers, because I do not support people who, or groups that allow that and then double down and triple down. So I have basically not supported them, but that was my choice not to. I didn't say
but
that
you've
other
also
people
acknowledged
Yeah.
acknowledged the good that they did, like when they backed
Yes.
Gina Carano. You've backed
Yes.
like, you're not unfair. You're just like, hey, this thing happened, I'm no
objective.
longer watching you.
Yeah.
But like, you know that I watch a few of them.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that anybody should not watch Geeks and Gamers. That is their choice. I'm not going to tell people one way or another who to watch and who not to watch. However, I have my own personal opinions. I've watched a couple of Friday night tight streams, and I found them to be okay. They're entertainment, but then a couple other streams came up, and I kind of lost interest. And then other things happened there and there. Personally, I like Ryan Kennel. I think he's a nice guy, but unfortunately, he has also made some decisions in which I disagree with, and therefore I stopped watching him as well. Now, I am not saying that these people are bad people. I am simply saying they have done things I disagree with, and therefore I don't watch them. However, I am not going to say is that these people are not allowed to defend themselves when they face attacks themselves. So when one person went after Ryan Kennel, he answered right back, and he is not a person who minces words. He tells them in very blunt ways where to go, where to shove it, and what to do. But that's his right. I'm not saying anything about or disrespectful about him. I'm simply saying that they have their way of doing things. I have my own way of doing things. Or if they ever want to come onto my channel, I'll bring them on, and I'll even talk shit out with them and whatnot. I always welcome other people's opinions on my channel, but it does not mean that I'm going to blindly support channels if they eventually do something that is against my morals. But I am not going to say or endorse any sort of campaign that says that these people need to be canceled. Yeah. That is where I draw the line. You are violating a constitutional amendment there. And not only that, Star Wars Theory actually responded before. It's like, you guys should sue. But thankfully, YouTube has come out and said they did not violate, and that is awesome. Maybe these people need to start accepting reality. Maybe they need to start going to therapy and find out what they can do to better their lives and accept maybe, something. I believe there is a prayer. Help me
Help me, dear Lord, to accept the things that I cannot change.
Yes.
Accept the things that I can. The wisdom to know the difference.
Yes, that one.
So it's called the Serenity Prayer.
Yes, the Serenity Prayer. Maybe they need to start looking into that because, it might help you get through life. Now, I'm not saying you have to become Catholic or anything like that, or Christian or anything like that, but maybe seek some serenity, Thoughts? We'll start with Ambassador because he wanted to go.
Well, SK wants to go first because I always let ladies go first, but either's fine.
Go ahead, Ambassador. Go ahead. I'm still cooking.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
Knows her place. She's a woman in the kitchen.
Look, here's the thing. Am I still a supporter of the channels that have been listed here? No, I'm not. Just because not trying to sound like I'm better than thou or anything like that, but I've evolved beyond their type of content. Do I hate them? No. To hate would be to imply feeling. I don't have a feeling towards them. I just evolved beyond their type of content. And I didn't want to watch it anymore. Do they have the right to say their piece about a show or an actor or an actress, as long as it's not it doesn't defame them along the lines of their race? Sure. They have that right. It's protected underneath the First Amendment of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. But this whole campaign to try and get these channels demonetized, this is beyond cope. This is beyond cringe. This is just pathetically desperate. This is trying to chase clout that will get you nowhere. Star Wars Explained, I don't even think I've watched one of their videos in a good 3 or 4 years, if not longer. And I've been on YouTube almost 5. It'll be 5 years in November that I've been on here. And this whole campaign is just nauseatingly moronic. Sorry to use a lot of big adjectives, but sometimes you have to. This is a show that did not do well. It was a show that was rejected by the fan base it was directed towards. It was rejected by the general audience for its quality, for its writing, for its acting. Obviously, these people do not have much going on in their lives. And then to them, I say, get a life. It's a show. There have been hundreds, if not thousands, of shows in the history of television and now streaming that only got one season, got one shot. And guess what? People moved on with their lives. This is beyond pathetic, and I will echo what I said in my video that I put out a few weeks ago. You are making us as a fandom look ridiculous. Guess what? Book of Boba Fett isn't getting a second season. Am I kind of bummed? Sure, but I also understand why. Do I side with Tamora Morrison in a position on how they portrayed Boba Fett? Yes, I do, because why? I like Tamora Morrison as an actor. He seems like a decent guy, and I like the character of Boba Fett. I think it sucks that this show only got one season, but it is what it is. But The Acolyte was not well received. It was not well written. It was not well directed. It was not well acted. It is not well. If it was a rabid dog, it should be taken out behind a woodshed and shot. Like Old Yeller.
Mm-hmm. Old Yeller, that fucking show. As they put it.
Yeah. These people need to desperately seek out a life beyond the internet. Go out and touch some grass. Go for a walk along a lake or a pond or in a park. Go get laid, for Pete's sakes. Mm-hmm. That might be part of your problem right there. You might be sexually frustrated.
Oh, Ambassador calls them incels. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I don't. I don't use that phrase because I think that phrase in itself is stupid.
It was a joke.
I know, and fair enough. It's a joke. Okay, fair enough. Go find you a... Okay, I'm going to use some adult language here. Go find you a damn hooker that looks like Amanda Stump if you're simping for her so hard and have her suck you off.
We here at Orange Hat do not agree with all opinions given by other panelists.
Fair enough. But for crying out loud, it was a show set in a fictional universe, and guess what? It didn't strike lightning. It didn't get lightning in a bottle. It didn't create a movement. It didn't create a fandom. It didn't inspire the fandom to get behind it. It sucked. It sucked badly. It probably sucks as badly as Leslie Headland does in the bedroom with her wife.
All right. Now you...
Sorry.
I get it, dude, but...
Sorry. Okay.
Anyway. He was cooking too long. Sorry.
Anyway, this campaign to try and get the other channels that are against the show is just dumb. It makes us all look as a fandom collectively stupid when we're not. We have a life outside these shows. We have a life outside this franchise. You obviously all don't. I suggest you get one. And with that, I yield the floor.
I mean,
I do apologize for my off-color remarks.
I get it, and that's fine. You're forgiven. I mean, folks, I've often said when I was doing the objective analysis for the Acolyte that some of the people who have rather larger accounts. Now, I'm not saying Geeks and Gamers and them, but specifically, but I have seen other people, and yes, maybe Geeks and Gamers and others associated with them have said some of the more rather extremely hyperbolic stuff in criticizing them. The whole lesbian scissoring witches thing, which I didn't agree with. Now, while they are entitled to give their opinion, I do want to reiterate, they do feed the machine of Disney's claims of bigotry, because they can say, this is what they're saying, this is what they're doing, because they are this Molly Damon person who is the wife of Star Wars Explained is basically saying, well, this is what they're saying, this is their bigotry and hatred and stuff. You're giving them that sort of ammunition. And the problem, now you are entitled to say whatever you want, but the problem is it has a cascading effect in which it affects other people who are not associated with you. Me, that's why I stepped away from supporting them. That's why I stepped away from trying to give them any more views and stuff. It's not because I hate their channels. It's because my channel and my profile was being freaking targeted by a bunch of people who were saying, oh, you're nothing but a fucking Geeks Gamer shill with their fucking racism and shit. It's like, no. One, I'm not part of their fucking group. In fact, I've called them out several times on previous accounts that I had on Twitter that were banned for whatever other reasons. I've said I don't support them. I've stopped supporting them and other stuff. Now, if a Geeks and Gamers member wants to come onto my channel, by all means, you're welcome to.
Right.
And we can hash it out and talk it out and other stuff. But I am going to say what I'm going to say. And if you ask me to fucking bring up your shit, bring up your own fucking archive of shit and make sure that you can clarify as well. Because a lot of shit happened that I wasn't really happy with them about. And that's fine. It's called difference of opinion. Moving on. But these people also are entitled to their fucking opinions. You're also entitled to your opinions. Molly Damon, Star Wars Explained people who, by the way, I do believe Star Wars Explained is a man who dressed up in a slave Leia costume with his wife holding the chain. That is I do kind of believe that is not something that is rather appropriate. But
I mean, if that's what you're into, but just don't post it online.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I mean, if you're into that shit, post it into your own private
your own
private
cloud.
online groups.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are, I'm not going to kink shame, but take that shit elsewhere. I mean,
yeah,
if you're into the Rule 34 stuff in Star Wars, that's you,
your
man.
Own home. Yeah, keep it in your own home.
But the fact of the matter is, keep that shit in your home. If you like what you like, that's fine. But live your life the way you want to live it. Other people don't have to see it. And leave other accounts alone because you're fucking with you're fucking with livelihoods. Some of these people need the extra income.
Yeah.
Some of these people need the extra income to subsidize the money they make from their own jobs because, well, look at the economy right now. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But the fact of the matter is that you are this is a cancel culture campaign. Now, and Molly tried saying, I'm not trying to get people canceled or their channels removed. I just want them demonetized. That's canceling them. That is trying to remove their ability to make content because the money goes towards updating their content creation. So yeah, you are attempting to get them removed. You are attempting to get them banned or demonetized, as your fellow people were responding in the thing. And when YouTube came out and told them to kick rocks, essentially, they actually, some of these people were threatening to get lawyers to try to sue YouTube. Good luck getting a lawyer that's going to stand up against Google. Google owns YouTube, for those of you who don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys need to understand, the Acolyte didn't fail because somehow we entered the Matrix and created a firewall. No, the Acolyte failed because people like you, Molly, and Star Wars Explained, and all you other sad fuckers out there that thought that it was okay to say something like, if you don't like it, don't watch it. By doing that, you created what's known as an undesired result. You got what you wanted, but did you want what you were going to get? No, you didn't, because the show got canceled. In fact, when we were hate watching the show, many of us were adding to the numbers.
Not me.
Those people hate watching added to the numbers.
No,
and it's still
to the numbers.
Failed. Well, not all of us, but we don't need to admit that.
But here's the thing too.
It's still
the Geeks and Gamers Squad, at least Gary and Critical Drinker, they signed the petition to renew it, because to them this is just content. So, and I think they did it. They're like, yeah, renew this show, like keep it coming, because like you said,
because it gives some content.
Well, it's content for them, and I see where you're coming from, where they just like add to, like I can see both sides.
They are giving more, or they're adding to the ammunition.
They're giving
against
audience to something that's trash. Yes, I understand that position, but I understand the other side of, okay, the audience wants either, hey, you watch it for us so we don't have to. That's their audience base, so give the audience what they want. They want, hey, you watch this and hate on it so I don't have to watch it, because I don't want to watch the Rings of Power. But yeah, if Critical Drinker wants to watch the Rings of Power and then, talk about it and make fun of it with a Scottish accent, and I want to listen to that, I'm going to listen to that. You know what I mean? And some people just like that content, and that's okay. That's totally fine. If somebody, I personally don't listen to Ryan anymore just because it's kind of repetitive after a while, but I like his takes.
They are more of an echo chamber.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not here. This isn't just like we don't like Geeks and Gamers. This is what we don't like about their channel. They have every right to say what they want to say, and I think it's really funny when like Pierce Morgan has to have on freaking Gary from Nerdrotics and I don't know his freaking name, but the Scottish dude, the Critical Drinker, on Pierce Morgan to defend why their YouTube channel should survive. And it's like, look, this is what they do. They're a bunch of nerds who like to talk about nerdy things online, who have an audience who want them to review things. That's their audience. And it's funny, the show didn't have this much, like, where was this audience for the show? Like, you guys have all of this hate toward people not watching the show and the show getting canceled. Where were you when the show was around? Why weren't you watching the show? It's kind of like all the people who want to complain about, women's soccer doesn't get enough money. Women's soccer players don't get enough money. Okay, name 5 women's soccer players. Name the last time you watched a women's soccer, game. When's the last time you bought a jersey? No? Okay. Well, that's why they don't get paid as much. If I tell you to name, some NFL stars, and if you have some jerseys of them, you'd be able to. But it's the same vein. So just leave the people alone. Allow them to make content for the people that consume their product. More people are watching Geeks and Gamers than are watching The Acolyte and Rings of Power. Mm-hmm. And I think that's saying something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Final thoughts.
I mean, I've kind of
Final
said my
thoughts.
piece.
Don't piss off a fan base. Stop pissing off fan bases. You wouldn't have to try to cancel Geeks and Gamers or because you've been shadow banned, and if you didn't piss off the fan base, whether or not it's Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, whatever, Doctor Who, stop touching fan bases, stop pissing off the audience, and when the audience tells you, hey, this is trash and doesn't watch it, stop blaming them for it. Where there's this, kind of funny meme that's turned into a joke, and it's like, consume product. Don't ask questions about product. Just consume next product. And that's what they want from us. And Lord of the Rings isn't a product for you to sell. It's a beautiful, rich linguistic history that has a lot of meaning to a lot of people, and you can't just
abuse it the way you have.
You can't.
Exactly. And those are my final thoughts.
Here's the thing. Throughout this stream tonight, we've discussed 3 different franchises. Terminator, Lord of the Rings, rather well-divorced Lord of the Rings.
Tolkien's Legendariums.
Yeah, exactly. One franchise, we absolutely love what they did with it. Great animated series. Well done. Bravo. Keep it up if you want to. I know what you said, Kate, and I respectfully disagree. I think there's a story that can be told here, and I think they can do it well if they have the same team back. But I do respect your point.
I respect your point as well. Yeah, if you can make it good, keep it going. But I just like quitting while you're ahead.
Yeah, fair enough. The other two topics tonight: Rings of Power. Doesn't respect the fan base, doesn't respect the lore, doesn't respect the creator. And now they're pulling out the same old playbook that they have done for the last 2 or 3 years, calling everybody and everything under the sun in every single fandom an istophobe or just a plain old dumbass who doesn't know what they're trying to do. Yeah, we know what you're trying to do, and it sucks. The same thing goes for Star Wars. Except it's our own. They're going after other YouTube content creators who are either acting in good faith or bad faith. That's up to a person's own personal opinion. Yes. There was a time I watched those channels. I no longer do. I've said why. But the fact is, with the advent and the creation and the expansion of the internet, it has given these fandoms a place where they can congregate and discuss what they like, discuss what they love, discuss what they don't think is up to par. And guess what? There are big voices, there are small voices who are going to speak out for these fandoms and for these franchises. I am to be one of those voices, Grant. I'm kind of small right now, but you know what? One of these days, who knows? I might get big, I might explode, and I might be one of the big guys. It may never happen, it might. But that's beside the point. People in the online sphere need to stop taking some of these things so darn seriously. This is meant to be fun. It's meant to enhance our lives. It's meant to make life bearable. It's not supposed to be all-encompassing of our lives.
No.
It doesn't require a petition. It doesn't require you to email a corporation to gripe. Or as my grandma would say, to be a bitch.
Yeah.
And I will always stand with the side that likes to do this for fun. I will stand with the side who does this as a hobby to get away from the doldrums of everyday life. Because that's where I'm at too. So, but that's my final thought.
Now, folks, my final thoughts on this are this. You could try to have us canceled. You could try to silence us and whatnot. You might succeed with some of us. But the point of the fact of the matter is, I will never call for the cancellation of anybody unless they are breaking the law. Unless they are truly doing something that is destructive to life and its societal structure. Complaining, criticizing, and reviewing the Acolyte is not against the law. Saying that representation has ruined Star Wars is not against the law. And if you actually pay attention to a lot of the reviews, like I have, not to Geeks and Gamers or anything like that, I don't give a fuck what they have to say. And I'm not saying that to start drama. I'm simply saying that because that is the fact of me. I do not give a shit what they have to say. I've seen most of the reviews I have seen that were objective. We're not talking about the skin color of people. They were not talking about the sexuality or the sexual preferences of people. They were simply talking about what they saw, what was presented in an objective manner. And because of those who were hyperbolic, unfortunately, those who were objective caught some of the backlash. We were labeled as racist and bigots as well. Amanda Stenberg did a diss track in which she danced like a rather untoward and what's the biblical word that I'm looking for? A woman of the night.
Harlot.
Yeah, harlot. And decided to make a diss track calling many fans racist and bigots and all that stuff. And here's the thing. The results of her actions directly impacted that show's ability to make ROI, return on investment. That is why the show was canceled. Molly Damon and Star Wars Explained, your husband, and to all those who were trying to get these people canceled, who's the real toxic fans? The people who are allowed to express their opinions even though you don't like them? Or the people who are trying to silence people because they are so offended, so damaged for whatever reason by words that they cannot function in life unless they are outraged by something? I think that you need to reevaluate your life, because what you are doing right now is wrong. You are trying to silence people because you can't handle the fact that they have a following that is making a difference in how things are done. Nobody is saying get rid of Black people or Hispanic people. Nobody's saying get rid of lesbians or gays in film. Nobody is saying any of that. What we are saying is that you can have these people in these shows, yet you do not have to bash us over the fucking head with these social commentaries inside of the shows. You don't have to push things like pronouns in Star Wars. They already existed. The EU did it before they did, or before Disney even got a hold of it. He, she, it. Those are pronouns, I guess, and whatnot. You didn't have to push any of that stuff. So, lesbians in Star Wars, gays in Star Wars, guess what? Existed before Disney. Non-binary stuff existed before Disney. Yeah. Changelings are non-binary by design. They are neither male nor female, yet they can be both. That is how they are, or that is a couple of species. The changeling species is specifically the species in the Republic Commando novels. They are its. But yeah, you tried silencing us and others simply because they had a difference of opinion. And honestly, did you not think that we would hit back? Of course we would. We have a right to defend ourselves as well. You take a swing at us, we're going to take a swing right back at you. But the problem is, we have objectivity on our side. We have the truth on our side. You're making up lies because you are too emotionally unstable to handle the truth. And again, the truth. The Acolyte failed to perform. It didn't bring in the numbers necessary to make profit for the show or for Disney. Disney is operating in debt. Disney needs to make smarter decisions business-wise. A smart business decision was made in the canceling of the Acolyte. You still have the ability to go onto Disney Plus. You still have the ability to watch the Acolyte. You have all that you need to do fan fictions and create your own little fan fictions of how the Acolyte can continue. If you want to learn about Darth Plagueis, there's a fucking novel and a movie that you can learn about Darth Plagueis. It's called Star Wars Episode 3, The Tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, is told in part in the story. There's a book called Plagueis. I suggest you read it. You might learn something. So you are not deprived, you are not oppressed, nor is Amanda Stenberg for that matter. If Amanda Stenberg was really, truly oppressed, she would not even be acting in Hollywood. Oppression is to take away people's rights, to take away their ability to thrive. Amanda Stenberg is doing very well when it comes to money and whatnot. She is able to get her voice heard to millions of people on social media, saying or claiming she has been harmed in any sort of way or oppressed in any sort of way simply because of the color of her skin is ludicrous. We had a black person as president. We have a black person running for president. How are black people oppressed if they are able to run for the highest political office of our nation? How are black people oppressed if a black person can be a billionaire? I believe her name is Oprah. How are black people oppressed? You see, you can't answer those questions because, well, my facts, or the facts, not my facts, but the facts have defeated your points. But getting back to the main point, you didn't like the facts, so you tried to skew them with half-truths and out-of-context lies. And that brings a defamation case to your door if Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnell, Star Wars Theory, and Nerdrotic feel inclined to launch their own campaign against you, which would be a legal campaign, which they have every right to because you guys endorsed that cancel campaign and you lied about them. So yeah, that's going to be my final thoughts, folks. Y'all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share. If you like this channel, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 2,000 before the year's end. If I could do that, I might do something special for y'all. In fact, if I do get to 2025, I will do something special for y'all. But only if I get to 2025 subscribers before the stroke of midnight on New Year's Day. So with that out of the way, thank you to Ambassador. Thank you to Kate. Thank you to Chris Daly, Vanya, Conroy, to all the people watching on X, to all the people watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in, for hearing our thoughts, for hearing our rants, for hearing our opinions that we are allowed to give under free speech. So if there is anything left to say, Ambassador, is there anything you want to plug? No? Kate, is there anything?
I'm good. I did my plug already. So.
All right.
I'm just going to plug reading Tolkien. Go read Tolkien. Go read Baron and Luthien. Go read The Fall of New York. Go read The Silmarillion. Go read The Hobbit. Go read The Children of Húrin. Anyway, go read Tolkien and go enjoy it. It's good.
All right. And yes, I agree with that. And as for me, folks, tomorrow night, 9 p.m., Orange Hat's Monday Night Rants. If you want to rant about something, not personal stuff, not any Twitter drama, but if you want to rant about like politics or entertainment or anything like that, 9 p.m., my channel, come on in. You will be invited onto the panel so you can rant. Tuesday, Mythological Kaiju. The kaiju from Norse myth, and whatnot at 1:30 p.m. for actually it might be 1 or 1:30 p.m. Yeah, 1:30 p.m. for Tuesday. Then Tuesday night is the Barroom Podcast on Society Reviews channel. The latter half of the month, the last 2 Wednesdays and Thursdays are the 1s and 2s on Mara Jade's channel, Jade Shadow. 8:30 p.m. We're going to be talking X-Men and X2. And then on Thursdays, 8:30 on my on my Twitter at OrangeHat2185, we will be talking the singles, which is the Wolverine Unleashed, the unrated edition, and Logan. And then Fridays are Orange Hat Uncensored, and Sundays the weekly recap with me and Ambassador and Kate. Anyway, thank you all for your support. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this to inform. I'm doing this to entertain. I like doing this stuff to entertain y'all, and I ain't getting a cent for it. I'm doing it for free. Kind of like Trump was president for free, you know? Anyway, folks, y'all have a wonderful night, and always remember to stay humble. Peace. And where is it? There it is.
Are you done? Are you done?